This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
All right, welcome in. You're listening to the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles, proud member of the CLNS Media Network. This episode was brought to you by Prizepicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Download the Prizepicks app today and use the code CLNS and get 50 in lineups when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prizepicks to get $50 in lineups when you play $5. Prizepicks. It's a good time. It's good to be right. Happy to be with you, Greg Bedard, Mark Dondero here on the podcast. And I'd love to know why you invited me on.
Very happy to have you, Mark. Let me first state to everybody that listens to this podcast, this is like a one-ish time deal. You know, who knows? Maybe Nick's not available and, you pinch hit or something like that. This has nothing to do with Nick. I'm not trying out people, anything like that. Nick will be back on Tuesday to give his normal rants, especially against the officiating. Love you, Nick. I'm just kidding. But
I would never want to infringe on Nick's space here. I'm just helping out.
Exactly. Just helping out. And I just really, I wanted you on because, first of all, we don't know each other very well. We know of each other. We've come across each other over the years. I have a lot of respect for your talent and also your hustle over the years
Thanks,
to get,
Greg.
where you are. And I think you're, really good at what you do. But we don't know each other very well. And, we're on the post-game show together. And I think there's a little bit of a disconnect. Certainly people have heard it either on the post-game show or on Felger and Maz, how they poke fun at it with some of the questions you asked and my responses to it, which obviously could have been better. But really, and also, a couple of times I've heard you, even on the off-air show with Felger earlier in the week, you didn't understand why I couldn't answer certain questions after games. And, and also there was something else that you said that maybe I'll remember it. But anyways, I wanted to have you on because, perhaps if I knew, because I think it was touch and go. I didn't know how much you were going to be involved in the post game show. I knew Joe was going to be there, and I have a little bit more of experience with Joe. I've been on other shows with him, even though he and I have a little friction. I think it's good and a respectful friction. I don't mind people pushing back on me. I encourage it. I like to mix it up with people. You like to mix it up with people. I love it, but we haven't gotten a chance to know each other. And, in the post game show, we're on for like a half an hour and it's pretty tight now. It used to be a little bit looser. I think the show's really good. I think you've added to the show. But also, even on Felger and Maz the other day, there's not a whole lot of time on these shows for grab ass and getting to know each other or anything like that, or understanding each other better. So when I heard some of your comments this week, I was like, you know what? Let's have Mark on the show. I think it will be interesting for not only, ourselves getting to know each other and understanding each other a little bit better, but also I think it might be interesting to the listeners of my podcast, of, people who maybe are not familiar with my podcast. Maybe this gets them to listen. And so, I think we're going to talk about the Browns. We're going to talk about the NFL. Mark's going to throw some questions at me that he did send me in advance. So I appreciate that. We're going to answer some questions that I can't answer after games. And I think you'll understand a little bit better why once I explain to you my process on a game day. Not that it's, curing cancer or anything like that. But I do have a job to do. And, this job, pays for a lot of things, including 2 college tuitions at the time. So I have a certain amount of responsibilities on game day. And so, yeah, I thought it would be interesting and a chance for us to get to know each other better as a, working relationship and help the show. And I'm happy to have you here.
Well, I appreciate your words. And to be honest, I was never, it was a little bit of a ball busting situation. I don't really get too angry. I don't hold grudges or anything like that. Did I understand fully why you were not able to answer some of the questions? No. And the tone was a little off putting. For a minute, I was like, I didn't know if you didn't think that somebody like me was qualified to do that show or something like that. So, but again, whatever.
Let me address that. No, really, I just have a natural disposition towards, really getting people getting ahead of themselves, and people can do whatever they want. They're fans. I think you're a Patriots fan, and that's fine. My tone had nothing to do with it. It's just like when I think, I'm a lot when somebody asks me questions, and I sort of, I'm a natural born cynic, and when I hear a question, I think that you're trying to get me to go a certain direction, and if I think you're trying to get me to be like, pants off and all excited about the Patriots, that's not something that I do. So I do push back against that, and I could have been wrong about that, but it has nothing. No, it has nothing to do with me not thinking you're qualified. I mean, you're there to facilitate the discussion, for the fans, to ask questions, to dig into things. I mean, I do as much as on that game, and you know I try to answer all the questions about the games. And yeah, there's certain stuff that I'm not really going to know the answers to until after I watch the film, but I should be able to give you, I will at least give you some sort of direction. I will give you some sort of answer in a snapshot at that time. And people know, well, I can revise that after I watch the film, but anything about the game that day, as much as I can tell, then I will try to give you an answer. But no, it has nothing to do with you, Mark, or me thinking that, maybe I'm like above you guys, or you shouldn't be there, or you're not qualified. No. And if I gave that off, then that's my issue. And I apologize for that.
Well, you don't have to apologize. It's not that big. Again, I don't get offended easily. I don't really care. I just kind of roll with things. Look, I was just this is a good opportunity. I won't take too much time here. I just want to explain sort of where I come from. And you talked about being pants off. I can get that way because I'm a passionate, I guess, fan, but also about the sports in general, the analysis of the different sports. I enjoy it. I enjoy looking into why things happened and what could be better and what could have been, what could have gone worse or what's going well and all those things. And I hate the fact, and this isn't only you, Greg, but a lot of people view me because of my high energy and intensity, as whether it's pants off or I'm just super negative or I'm this is the worst one, hot take artist. I just think a hot take has nothing to do with how you say something. A hot take is what you say. So I remember I saw NBC Sports Boston posted a long time ago a thing with Michael Hawley, and he was all fired up and he was yelling a little bit, and he was making a very valid point. I don't remember what point he was making, but it was completely valid. And they called it like a hot take. And I want to be like, that's not a hot take. A hot take would be saying Bill Belichick is the sole reason that Tom Brady had success in the NFL. And the entire Patriots dynasty was because of Bill Belichick, not Tom Brady. That would be a hot take. And I wasn't yelling and screaming, but sometimes because I can get animated and get a little fiery or a lot fiery, sometimes people take that as hot take. I'm pants off or whatever. And I think my analysis is well thought out usually. And that's what I try to, it's my own fault if people can't see past my presentation, but that's just kind of a window into what I do and what, I guess my MO is in this job, in this type of role.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, I really like the energy that you bring, and I can see how, it's the same thing with me. I mean, some people love me, some people hate me. I mean, and some people think I'm, arrogant the way that I talk about the games or on my opinions, and I understand that. I mean, it's just, I am confident in my analysis, especially of the film. I mean, look, I'm not 100% right, all the time, but I have a pretty good track record over the years. I also back up sometimes. A lot of times what I do is, over the years, I will watch the film. I will draw my own conclusions. I don't read a lot. Actually, I don't read very much at all. I try to stay away from whether this is during the week. And this is no comment on my colleagues' work. And I think, there's a lot of talent on this beat. And I respect everybody, especially the people that I've been, working alongside. Not only here, I covered the Dolphins in the early days of the Patriots Dynasty. So I knew, Tom Curran and Mike Reese and Karen and all these guys. And so I go back a long ways with those. But I try to avoid any other people's opinion, especially once through when I watch the film, because I don't want anybody else's opinion to infiltrate me and color me in any way. But if I come off as arrogant, it's because I feel confident in my analysis that it's been pretty good over the years and pretty accurate. I also have the ability, I'll watch the film, I'll come to my own conclusions about both sides of the ball for the Patriots. And I do have the ability to ask people inside the building who know, just to say, hey, I think this after watching the film, and they'll be like, well, yeah, that's fair if you say something like that. Or they'll tell me, no, I don't know if we agree in the building with that. And then I go, dig a little bit deeper. But when I present my opinions on, Tuesdays or, what have you, I have a lot of confidence in my opinion. It might not be popular and it might go counter to some of the things out there. Like, for instance, this week, Drake May and his running, and about how we could also, I never got to answer. You had the question about how can you rate Drake May, the passer, like, really good, but Drake May, the runner, in the bottom three. So we could possibly get to that at some point. But, I feel confident in my observations. It's not 100%. I'm not infallible or anything like that. Sometimes I'm flat out wrong, and I will be flat out wrong. But I do have confidence in my opinion. I do think that my Drake May take on this week, if people want to really, basically the guy QB School, JT O'Sullivan, who does a great job. I'm a member of his Pantheon or whatever it's called, where you get sort of deeper analysis. He had almost the exact same analysis of Drake May that I did. And so that makes me feel good. I'm sure some people will disagree with it, but I think that Drake May ran way too early, way too many times this past week. And if he keeps doing that, he is going to get injured, and there goes the Patriots season. But so I just wanted to say that's sort of where if people perceive me as arrogant or what have you, I understand that. That's sometimes a tonality thing with me, but I'm just telling you where it's coming from.
Oh, whatever. I mean, when I asked about the AFC and you said, "Oh, come on, I can't answer that." That was unbelievable. I loved every second of that. I knew that was going to be something.
It was great.
That was good.
It was great. And I will a little bit later let people know. I'm going to share my screen and show you what I do during a game. And tell you what I do in the aftermath of the game. So when I get with you at 5:30, what have you, for a 1:00 game, you're going to understand why when you ask me anything that goes on the NFL, like, I'm going to be like, who did they win? What's going on? And so,
sure.
Oh, that was the other thing. Okay. Now, so the other thing you said was I cover the NFL, and you don't understand why somebody who covers the NFL doesn't know certain things. I don't cover the NFL. I cover the New England Patriots. I used to cover the NFL for Sports Illustrated, and I am an NFL writer per se. But in terms of what I do for BSJ, for 98.5 The Sports Hub, I am solely focused on the Patriots. And what's going on outside of the Patriots really, doesn't concern me all that much until we get to about the final month, 6 weeks of the season, when I will be watching the scoreboard to see what's going on across the league, because it does impact the Patriots. Right now, what goes on in other games really doesn't impact the Patriots. So it's pretty much off my radar until I get past, I do try to familiarize myself with some things going on in the league, because Felger and Matthews are going to ask me, especially in like 10 questions. But that's about the extent of it when I'm covering the Patriots during the season. I cover the Patriots. I don't cover the NFL. That's how I view it.
Fair enough. And in your defense, the film, I mean, it obviously it does tell you so when you go back and like, for example, I didn't realize, in the depth of how at risk Drake May put himself in that game until I went back and watched one of those 19-yard runs and realized, oh, he didn't actually slide. He was well past the first down and then took this unnecessary double-sided hit where he goes, pile driving into the ground. That was something that the film taught me. Now I'm not watching all the film, obviously, right after the game, and neither are you until Tuesday. So I respect the attention to detail there and all that. So there's no apologies necessary. I appreciate when something is said that I know is going to gain some traction.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's
we can get into the Browns if you want in the upcoming matchup. I think, look, the defense and the offense is the headline here. I mean, do you see it any other way going into this week?
No, I think that, in what I've seen so far, and I watched about 3/4 of the Dolphins game the other day, the Browns against the Dolphins. And I've started to dig into the advanced analytics a little bit more. I don't think the Patriots will have any trouble with the Browns offense. I think they are very limited. I think they're very limited by Dylan Gabriel. I don't think they have much to worry about in the passing game. We'll see if Jerry Jeudy, I don't think he's doing very much. He did not practice the other day. Of course, this is like 1:00 on Thursday, so we don't have the practice report for today. Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson's teammate at Ohio State, certainly had some electrifying runs in that game. The thing is, the Patriots have a great run defense, and that they don't have to worry about Dylan Gabriel like killing them down the field. I mean, look, the current state of their pass defense, the Patriots, they have to worry about just about everybody, and I think just about everybody can make plays on them, especially in the middle of the field. But I don't think the Patriots defense is going to have any issues in this game. And as long as the big thing is, can the Patriots offense take care of the ball and make enough plays against this Brown defense, which I think is it is the and granted, I haven't watched a whole lot of film around the league. Pretty much I just watched the Patriots upcoming opponents, their game or two before they play them. But this is the fastest defense I have seen on film, and they are aggressive. They play a ton of single high safety, in your face, press man. They're sort of the anti-Patriots in terms of, the Patriots' strength in the pass defense is the man-to-man of the corners, or at least should be. But they stink in the middle of the field because the linebackers don't cover well. They don't get to their depth. The safeties are not that great. Of course, Craig Woodson did not practice the other day. That could lead to more things. We'll see if he's back today. But the Browns are super fast and athletic at linebacker, and their safeties are awesome. So they're almost like the anti-Patriots. Of course, they have Myles Garrett. They have a whole bunch of stuff up front. Can they block it up? Can they take care of the ball? Which pretty much, if Drake May takes care of the ball, the Patriots are going to win the game. That's what we've learned so far. But it's gonna be tough. I mean, I think the Patriots will make some plays. I think Josh McDaniels knows Jim Schwartz very well, and Jim Schwartz is somewhat predictable in some of the things that he likes to do. And I think Josh will dial up some things that take advantage of some of Jim Schwartz's tendencies. But man, this is an impressive defense. They're worse on the road. Their passer rating allowed on the road is like 120. At home, it's like 88. They have, granted, you have to look at it that, they were going up against, I think it was Lamar Jackson on the road. Lamar Jackson, when he was good, when he was healthy, the Detroit Lions, when they started to get going, the Minnesota Vikings, of course, with Carson Wentz, but they still have talent and a good scheme. And I think it was, Pittsburgh, where Aaron Rodgers has started to play better and use some of the guys on the outside. So, yeah, their road splits are not good as a team, especially on the Cleveland defense, but it's not like they've been playing slappies on the road or anything.
Very tested defense on top of being very good. The one other thing about the matchup I just wanted to ask, based on what I'm reading, and what I've gathered out of Cleveland, it felt like the defensive unit of the Browns was sort of getting a little aggravated, impatient with the lack of production from the offense. And I think as a part of that, Jim Schwartz last week especially dialed up the pressure even more and gave them a little bit more reason to get excited about the game and get excited about playing defense. And it obviously worked. They had turnovers. It led to 21 points for the Browns. How different is that if they continue to play that way? How different will that be for the Patriots based on some of the other defenses they've faced, especially if Cleveland is going to be ultra aggressive, blitzing safeties and coming at Drake May?
Yeah, what's interesting, Mark, is they were uber aggressive in that game, and like looking at some of the stats that I've been looking at, I mean, I've never seen, like, when the Patriots played the Dolphins, because of the speed of their receivers and their big playability, which we saw during that game. The Patriots played a lot of too high. Most teams play a lot of too high. They don't want to get beat over the top against the Dolphins. The Browns were really the first team that I've seen challenge them. I mean, they were, like I said, single high, but compacted and up in the face of these guys. I think they had a lot of faith that, well, first of all, they don't have to worry about the running from Tua like they do with Drake May, which could change things a little bit and should change things. But the Dolphins line, which is, I sort of touched on this the other day. I think everybody's hates Tua and thinks he's done and all this stuff. I look at it as, you have a certain type of quarterback in Tua, and he needs sort of certain things like really good protection. And for them to never be able to get a decent offensive line, like, ever, that's the tale. It's not about Tua. It's about the Dolphins' inability and personnel. But yeah, this is if the Browns play like they did against the Dolphins, and I do think they'll play a little bit different because you have to account for Drake May's legs. This is going to be an uncomfortable game for them. I think I've been waiting for a team that's going to challenge the Patriots in press man, disrupt their timing, all that stuff, because I don't think the Patriots have many guys that are going to be good against that type of aggressive defense, and it's going to throw off Drake May's timing, and it could lead to him just like, one count and run like he did about a handful of times this past week. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Browns play the Patriots as opposed to the way they played the Dolphins, if there's any change, because, man, they look like the 85 Bears in that game. That's how fast and aggressive they were in that game.
I mean, for me, it comes down to still the quarterback matchup. I just feel like that gap is very wide, and I'd like to think that could be the difference for the Patriots, even though I'm still interested in the test that he's been great, MVP candidate, all the things that we've talked about, but you're still taking tests here. I mean, he hasn't, I'm not going to say he hasn't accomplished anything yet, but he's still trying to prove himself. There's still things, obviously, come playoff time, there will be tests that he has to take and all that. But this is another one. This defense is really good. They've played some good quarterbacks to this point. They beat the Packers. I know they don't have a lot of wins, but they've beaten some good teams. They've been able to find a way to do that. I can't wait to see. And I keep going to it. The Patriots at home. Great performance against the Panthers, but that's still a thing to me. They have to find a way to get better at home and to get better on game days at home and win those games at home and try to build momentum doing that. Okay. Speaking of game days, I'm really interested to hear about your game day process and get into all that. But first, let's go back to Greg because he has a word from Prizepicks.
You and I make decisions every day, but on Prizepicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prizepicks, where it's good to be right. I love sitting down for a game. I don't like doing a bunch of different games, but like Thursday night, or I get a chance maybe Monday, sit down on the couch, get the app out. It's so easy to use and make my picks. Prizepicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prizepicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Drake May's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns, like I'm sure Dondero does every single week? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. On Prize Picks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose Flex Play, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, which is what I do, I go big or I go home. Go for the power play. No matter your play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right.
So speaking of being right, I'm just trying to figure out how I can get the right answer for what you do post game. Because to be totally honest with you, I still don't know when we talk about that question, the AFC and offering a thought. I still don't know exactly what you mean by you're so inundated on a game during a game, why you couldn't offer that answer. So if you could take me through kind of what you do, I think that'd be interesting for a lot of people to hear.
Yeah. So look, and I'm not making it out like I'm curing cancer or anything like that. And
Sure.
could I be more observant to what's going on around the league? Yeah, probably. But like I said, I'm solely focused on the Patriots and what I'm doing. I'm going to try to share my screen. Let's see if this works. What? It's not. Now it's saying.
Look, while you're doing that, I'll say that I appreciate the pride that you have in, not wanting to be reckless with a take or with some analysis because you haven't fully invested in the time. At the same time, again, as you continue to explain, my perspective is you cover the league. You don't cover the league, but you know what the Patriots are doing throughout the course of the week. You must be somewhat informed on what else is going on in the NFL and the team's record and the standings and who's doing well and who's dropping off and all those things. I just couldn't imagine, hey, he's not even able to give some type of thought on what I asked about the AFC. That's all.
Are you seeing?
I'm not seeing anything.
Right
no.
Okay. All right. This is not working. So, wait. Can I do this? Okay.
Okay, here we go. Your email's up.
Okay. Is it still on my email?
Email.
Okay. So
now boat racing.
So you see Twitter. So, so I'm going to take you through. So basically what happens is, and also I will share this. So this is what you're seeing right now. This is sort of the background of BSJ, where we have a bunch of files and things like that. And basically, what I do, first of all, my bread and butter, no matter what I do in terms of post game and podcasting and Felger and Maz, my bread and butter, how I pay for things, is through Boston Sports Journal. I have thousands of members a lot of them who have been with me since day one, and thank goodness. And they've allowed me when I got laid off from Sports Illustrated, and there weren't a lot of jobs. Trust me, I tried. I called everybody after I got laid off, but it was at a time where, there was a lot of contraction in the industry, and I didn't think I was going to get a job at the end of the day. So I started my own site, and, we're 8-9 years into this. And, I thank all my members because we literally couldn't do it without them. So on game day, I start a file. This is from last week. This is our live coverage file. So Mike Giardi and I set up this file on game day, giving everybody what they need to know. Are you seeing this, Mark?
I'm seeing it. Yep.
Okay. So giving everything what they need to know, some stats and things like that. My keys to the game. I didn't have many against the Titans. I had a lot more the previous week. My game pick, all that stuff. But the good stuff is in the comments, and actually you can see it, but it starts in the comments. But you can sort of see I give a running commentary. There's a lot of reporters who are on Twitter a lot during the game. I don't do that because I don't really get paid through Twitter. I'm in the comments of BSJ sometimes interacting, but mostly giving my running commentary during the game, because those are the people that pay me. So that's where a lot of my attention is. I also have a tab, or I have something open where I'm getting the TV feed of the game. If I'm at home, if I'm not at a road game, which I wasn't at the last two, I will be at Tampa. That's through Xfinity. I'm watching it on my other screen. When I'm on the road, it's all on one screen. But like in Tampa, I will have this device. It's, pretty comical, where I bring an antenna to the game, and actually I record the game on my computer and I listen to the game as it's going on. And sometimes I might hear highlights from a game. A lot of times, like during the break, um, I will be in the background of BSJ, and I'm having to change the headline to keep up with the score, also giving people an indication of what's going on during the game. I'm changing the picture, during the game to keep things fresh. And also, if Drake May's playing great, but after say the defense gets a defensive score like Chase on, I'm going to go into usually during the commercial break, I'm going to go into our file system, our picture system, and find a picture of Chase on with the touchdown as soon as it appears. So that's what I'm doing on. I am monitoring, but normally it's just this is the NFL's like stats site, but really I just have it on the Patriots game. You'll see some of the scores up here. I do notice the scores, but I don't, not a whole lot. I mean, if I see somebody's losing like 40-0 and that's a surprise, I might note that. But that's about it. I also have this tab is a stats service that I use that, really actually this is during the game, and this all updates during the game to give me a look at as far as passer rating, all sorts of stuff. How much the blitzing is going on, success rate. So I'm looking at some of this stuff, and I have there's a bunch of different stats that I can look at during the game. I also look at PFF during the game. They are grading the game as it's going on. I'm looking at it to see, sometimes they have accumulation of pressures allowed, things like that maybe I'm not keeping track of during the game. I also have a side chat in Group Me with a select group of members at BSJ, where I'm also giving them some commentary. I do keep tabs of my terrible fantasy football team. That's sort of, if I get a little break, I want to see how my fantasy football team is. It does have scores on the Yahoo thing, so I do see some of the scores, but I'm not taking a ton of interest in it. Oh, okay. So this is during the game, but also I have what's called basically what I do after the game, Mark, is we have what's called a BSJ game report, which is basically like sort of like a quickie take on the game with different categories. I have headlines, turning point, second guess, 3 up, 3 down, injuries, some game notes. I put in Twitter top plays, and then 2 or 3 takes Bedard will probably regret later. I love to have that ready at the final gun to publish. So not only am I doing my game coverage at the same time, I am starting to write this is my game story. And I try to get it done as soon as possible after the game, so there's something fresh for the BSJ members. Doesn't always work out that way. I'm also trying to finish this and get down to Mike Vrabel's press conference. Hasn't happened a lot. A lot of times, a lot of these games are going down to the gun. I should start writing this as the game goes along. I don't really do it. I'm kind of a slacker. So I start basically writing probably in the fourth quarter. So a lot of the fourth quarter, I'm just writing and sort of listening to the game and watching what I can of the game. Luckily, hopefully they get more blowouts like this past weekend, so I can write earlier and get it sent, and then I can monitor Mike Vrabel, because I would like to be there. I haven't been there a ton, but I would like to. It just doesn't always work out. Then as soon as Mike Vrabel is over, whether it's on Zoom or at the stadium on the game field, I go and I do the CLNS post game with Zanis for about 15 or 20 minutes. Then I go from there, this Sunday home game, I'll go from the field up to the box. I go into a box in the media section of the press box. It's sort of almost like a coaching box, where I can be by myself. I will work, probably sometimes I have to finish up the game report, but that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing until I talk to you at about 5:30, which is like an hour and a half after the final gun. So basically, I'm working right up until I talk to you. And so that's why when you guys asked me, or like this past weekend when we talked about the Browns and I asked you, like, did they win? Like, how did they do? Um, do
You're
you sort
smothered.
of do you sort of understand why
Oh
I
yeah.
okay.
No, I get it, and I respect all that hustle. I mean, it's ridiculous how much you're doing. It's cool to see how it kind of works behind the scenes. Um, and I think, keep in mind, I have absolutely no idea what it's like to work in a situation where I have thousands of subscribers that are sort of relying on my every move in terms of the website or whatever it is, the publication, and my analysis and my breakdowns and what what I've promised to deliver. So I don't know what that's like. From my perspective, I just, I was brought up in this business with a journalistic background. I mean, the principles of journalism I respect, but at the same time, ever since I started, I've always viewed myself as more of an entertainer than a journalist, just because I always viewed that as where this business has gone more so. Even this dates back to, when I used to cover, when I was on the beat for 5 years for the Patriots, in the locker room, at the press conferences, Belichick. I mean, everybody, they gave me so much crap for the questions I used to ask Belichick. But to me, and I know you're doing something completely different with the website and everything. For me, it was about entertainment. I didn't really care how he analyzed the backup running back that could get some touches from the Jets on the, like, I didn't give a crap about all that. I was thinking, how could I make this entertaining? And I still approach, I guess, the post-game show with that kind of mindset. Although I will say this, if there's ever a time for more of an analysis than just being an entertainer, it is a post-game show where you could go, like, that's where I'm a little bit more interested more than ever in some of the numbers, in some of the tendencies, in some of the statistics. Usually I hate stats. I think stats lie, numbers lie, stats are for losers. But in this regard, in a post-game show, I still like it because it does offer insight into the game. However, I still view it as, you want to be, it's a vehicle to be entertaining. It would be entertaining or be an entertainer. And I still have trouble shaking that, even though we're sort of analyzing the game and what happened. So it's like when I hear, oh, I got to watch the film, or, I get where you're coming from, especially now. But that to me is like, well, we're trying to, entertain the people here in the post game. And that's just something I've had trouble shaking. So that's where I'm coming from.
I totally get it. And I appreciate that. So just so people understand. So, basically I'm doing my game day responsibilities are basically like the live coverage file and keeping that updated. I had to start on the game report. I have two different, post game shows that I'm doing. I then read, like, Mike Giardi Giardi writes a column. I edit that. And then I also, once that's over with, then I write my game column. And I will say my responsibilities are a lot different. Like if I, when I was say at the Boston Globe and I was like the NFL writer, I mean, really my contributions on game, I mean, it's having a legacy media job, those things, especially they have, I will say they have to deal with a lot earlier deadlines now than we used to have to back in the day. But really, you're talking about, I mean, whether it's Dan Shaughnessy or like Ben Volen, who has my job that I had, I mean, he's writing one column, like as far as I know. And this is no disrespect to Ben, as far as, I just remember what I had to do. And of course, I used that, I did a lot of analysis. Like that's why I record the games to my computer, because I would go back and be like, if there was something big in the game, like how did the Patriots, like, how did they stunk on defense in the first half? But they won the game on defense in the second half and they tightened things up. What changed? And I would go back and sometimes I would go back and rewatch almost the entire game and note a bunch of things. So, not everybody's the same. I mean, I have to hustle a lot because, it's my own thing. And other people have different jobs. And I wish I had, some of those jobs, because they're a little bit easier, where you just have to worry about writing, like, one column. But I will say, what's really cool for the post-game show going forward, and I was referencing this a little bit last week, but the stats outfit that I have, True Media, which I pay a lot for, I just realized the guy's he's developing like a post-game stats booklet for me that has like a lot of cool stuff, including like personnel breakdowns, how much they were in it, how much it was successful. So, a lot of times, like I'll be able to come with a little bit more analysis, like you were talking about with the stats, because of the stats service that I have, and how they're helping me out. We're together designing sort of like this post game report for me that gives me a lot of like cool info. It's not the end all be all, but it helps.
Yeah, so Ben Volen has your old job at the Globe. Is that why you don't like Ben Volen? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Who are you, Jimmy Stewart? I
know he brought it up the other day. I'm just joking.
Oh, he's actually, I don't want to get into Jimmy Stewart, but
So,
just
last
so
thing.
people know, I have no problem with Ben at all. I've never had a problem with Ben. Certainly, personally, we worked together at the Palm Beach Post back in the day. Like, just because Jimmy Stewart says it doesn't mean it's true. And but he just likes to mix it up, and he likes people to get pissed off at each other. And
I love it.
I don't think he's the biggest fan of me, and that's fine. But yeah, that's kind of all I want to say about that.
Everyone loves Big Boy too. I get texts about Big Boy. You're on Big Boy Tuesday, so it's a popular show. Real quick, so then just tell me one last thing, Greg, about this dynamic here. What would help you, so that way I could help you, kind of thing in the post game? Like, what do you want to be asked?
Basically anything that's about the game, or maybe updated, through the trade deadline. You'd be like, hey, snapshot, like, I'm not going to have names for anybody because I'm not in pro personnel, and I don't have time to sit there and like, watch film on all the teams around the league. So if you ask me like, who can they trade for and can they get I don't know. And I'm not going to try. It's a waste of time. Those guys will find people. But, if you wanted to update, hey, any more thoughts on what you think the Patriots need at the trade deadline? But, really it's specifics. And I know, I understand, the last couple of games, I forget what game we were commenting on when we had those interactions, the cul-de-sac and the Muffin House. But I know, I understand it was a blowout, and you're trying to find different things, like just anything Patriots centric. Like I'm just tunnel focused on the Patriots in that game.
Okay.
So anything there is fair game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we should just keep doing what we were doing. If you feel like the question's ridiculous, have a dismissive tone, and I'll throw it back at you and be a little bit pissed, and then we'll just go with what we're doing. I think that works.
Exactly. I love
all right.
it.
Great. Just because we have the time right now, real quick, I would like to kind of get your take on the AFC as a whole, and just kind of where you see right now the Patriots and how they stack up against some of the other top teams and the true contenders, and who are some of those other top teams as you see it right now. Okay.
I am sort of a slave to DVOA. I love it because it compares, it puts opponent ratings into it. It factors that in. It's not just like EPA, which is in the ether. There's no comparison on who you're playing. So just to let people know, in terms of, these are the DVOA rankings for the AFC. Colts, Chiefs, Texans, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Denver, Jacksonville, New England. New England is 8th in DVOA, total DVOA in the AFC, whether that's fair or not. My personal AFC. Oh, and by the way, what I did want to point out is, as far as like, I do try to get a flavor of the league, but before Tuesday, it's really limited to I tape NFL Network's Game Day Final, and I try to watch that on Sunday night or Monday morning to give me a flavor of what's going on across the league. But I hate highlight shows. I hate relying on it. But so that's about when I try to get clued in. I try to watch some of the Monday night game because I figure something might happen with Felger and Maz. But all day Monday, I'm really watching the film, putting my charts together, film, all that stuff. So my rankings of the AFC right now, the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they are getting their groove back. I think, they are going to be dangerous. If they're not the best team right now, they will be in short order. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs right now are the favorites in the AFC. I would also put Indy there. There's the whole Daniel Jones thing. We'll see. But I watched the Colts in week 1 against the Dolphins. I came away very impressed with the Colts. I said at the time, this team's a lot better than people realize. I think their lines are awesome. I think they are fast on defense. I think Jonathan Taylor is one of the best backs in the league. Daniel Jones is playing at an incredible rate right now. Not as good as Drake May, but pretty good. So I have Indy number 2. I have Buffalo number 3, just in terms of, I think with the bye week, they will get it figured out. They have a history of that. I don't know if they can keep it up with all the injuries that they have. I hate their defense. I think their defense stinks, but they're going to have to score and get their groove back on offense. I think that they will. I have Pittsburgh number 4. Don't like their defense, but I think Aaron Rodgers is getting more comfortable with the guys around him. And they beat the Patriots, even though it was the Patriots' fault. I have Pittsburgh 4. I have New England 5th, just ahead of the Broncos. It's very close, but and Denver has a great defense, but I trust Drake May a hell of a lot more than Bo Nix. So those are my rankings as of the moment.
I don't have a big problem with that. You lost me at the Steelers. I know the Steelers beat the Patriots in New England, but the turnovers, Aaron Rodgers, he can't come back in the fourth quarter throughout his career. I just don't. And I put the Patriots above them. I'm not a believer, excuse me, in Daniel Jones, but right now, the way the Colts are playing, if you're talking about power rankings, I would put them above the Patriots based on how they've played, their entire body of work and their entire roster and all those things. And then the Broncos, I would have right behind the Patriots just because I think Bo Nix is good, but I don't know if he's that transcendent type of quarterback that won't, he'll be able to produce even if he doesn't have great things around him or a lot of people. Even if they're not loaded, but they're playing well. They've had some nice wins in Philly and such. So I don't have a big problem with those rankings, and man, what a relief that we were finally able to get that answer from Greg Bedard on a Thursday here. So thank you for that. All right, I want to do a little rapid fire, but first I want to remind you, make sure you check out CLNS's YouTube channels. The YouTube channels for CLNS include the CLNS Media Network and Celtics All Access on CLNS for behind-the-scenes content and segments from their many Celtics podcasts, the NBA History Channel, the Patriots Press Pass, and Bruins Ringside. Again, check out the CLNS YouTube channels. You ready for some rapid fire?
Ready.
Here we go. Okay. First rapid fire question. I mean, you have to be super quick, but it is rapid fire. Your favorite Super Bowl of all time not involving the Patriots. This is a way for us to get to know each other a little better. Favorite Super Bowl of all time not involving the Patriots.
Yeah, I looked at all the Super Bowls, and there's certainly some great ones. There's certainly a lot of memories of great Patriots Super Bowls. Even though I don't know if you're aware of this, and this might come up a couple times, just so people know. I think my listeners know. You might not know. I did not grow up a Patriots fan. I am from Massachusetts, but I did not grow up a Patriots fan. I grew up a Dolphins fan, mostly because of Dan Marino, because I was living in South Florida at the time.
I think I heard that. Yeah.
Down there. Yeah. But anyways, and also I was early in my career working my tail off, making my way up as the Patriots dynasty was beginning. But I looked at all the games. There were there's a ton of memories. Certainly not Dan Marino's one shot against the 49ers when they ran roughshod over them. That really killed me. And I did not think that was going to be the only time he was going to be there. But I'm going to go with the first Super Bowl that I vividly remember because I just fell in love with it. The whole spectacle. It was Super Bowl 16, 49ers Bengals in the Silverdome. There was something about the lights in the Silverdome, how they were bouncing off the 49ers helmets, the Bengals helmets. I loved Kenny Anderson Chris Collinsworth, Montana. I was just sitting there on the floor, mesmerized by the entire spectacle of it. And that has always, I just have a vivid memory of that. And that's when I fell in love with the NFL. That's the first Super Bowl. I was 8 years old at the time in early 1982. But that's my most vivid memory of a Super Bowl.
Great answer. I'll go with the this one's for John. The Bronco. I forget what number it is. 32, maybe. The Broncos Packers. I thought it was a great game. I had a thing for that Broncos team. Elway trying to win his first. He had been there so many times. He had never won. I didn't like the Packers because they had beaten the Patriots the year before, so I was rooting hard against them. I thought that was the helicopter at the end. Great game, great Super Bowl. All right. Tell me your story as a Patriots fan. I'm just interested from Super Bowl 42 when the Patriots were undefeated, lost to the Giants. What were you doing? Were you covering the league, covering another team? Were you just at a party? And how did you, as a football person, a football fan, digest what you saw happen?
So you're going to find this funny, again, and you're going to find it unbelievable. But hopefully I can give a little context. I'm 95% sure I was there. And you're going to be like, how do you not know whether you were there or not? So that was my first year covering the Green Bay Packers. Okay. The twins, our twins, were born about 11 months earlier. We moved to Green Bay, Wisconsin, where we knew nobody. So my wife and I, that whole time period is a complete blur. When you have twins, you're working your butt off. I was there at the 2007 NFC Championship game, the Giants Packers stunned Favre interception. I'm covering.
Oh man. Yep.
I'm reasonably, and I even because I was hung up on it, I asked my wife, she doesn't remember because that whole time period was a blur for us with the twins. And it was an exciting time for me covering, the Brett Favre's final season, all that stuff. I even texted Tom Silverstein, who was one of my partners on the Packers, seeing if maybe he has this great memory that he remembers. Was I there or not? I'm pretty sure I was there. He doesn't really remember. He was going to go look in the archives for me today. I'm reasonably sure. So, I covered the NFC Championship game. I think I flew down just for the game. Because I do remember in mind's eye, like I can remember my seat in the stadium and watching some of the plays and, Tyree, and I'm reasonably sure I was watching Belichick storm off the field before the game was over, like right below me. But I'm not 100% sure. It could be snapshots from the telecast, but I'm like 98% sure I was there. I was completely stunned. I thought the Patriots were going to roll. It was unbelievable. And that would have been the first Super Bowl I covered. As long as I was there, that was my first of 14 Super Bowls that I would go on to cover.
I don't even know what to say, whether to laugh or be concerned, but I'll just say from my perspective, it's still a game I can't watch. And I still can't believe they lost the friggin' game. Okay. Next, favorite football movie ever? Football guy, football movie. What's your favorite?
Did you skip one?
Did I? Yeah. If you could put any player currently in the NFL on the Patriots, any NFL player, who would it be? You don't have to worry about contract, money. Yep. You could just put him on the Patriots. Who would it be?
So normally it would be Micah Parsons, but I just don't think these guys would know how to use him in the unique way that he needs to be. I think Belichick would, but I think he'd be typecasted as sort of like an end. He just, linebacker. I don't think they would use all his tools. So my answer is Justin Jefferson, just because I think, Jamar Chase. I think Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in the league. He would make this offense so dynamic. It's either Chase or Jefferson, just one of those guys, because those guys do not grow on trees. They're hard to find, and I just think they are spectacular.
Can't argue with that one. I'd take Jefferson, I guess, but I've just yearned for that number one, that true number one, because they've had such a hard time drafting it. I'd love to see a guy like that. I wouldn't argue with a good defensive player, but if you give me a number one, Justin Jefferson, especially with what Drake May's doing, awesome. Favorite football movie? Now it's time.
Love The Little Giants.
Okay, watch that one.
I also love The Program. I
Don't
haven't
know
seen
that
it in a
one.
while. Oh, you got Dondero.
Which
The
one is it?
program is
That's not
great.
The Rock, is it? Is that The Rock?
No, no, no.
No,
The
no.
program is
I don't
it's a
know that one.
90s movie. I want to say Holly Berry's also in it, Christy Swanson, Omar Epps. It's about a renegade sort of I think it was filmed at the University of South Carolina. It's about a college football program where there's some steroids and some other stuff.
Oof.
I want to watch it to see if it still holds up, but it would be right up your alley, Dondero. You would love it, the program.
Okay, noted.
But I am a complete sucker for Remember the Titans. I watch it every time it's on. I just love everything about it. I know historically it's not that all that factual and things like that, but I just can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of Denzel and all those guys in that movie. I love it.
Remember the Titans is probably my answer. I grew up in the Varsity Blues era, and it's such a
Yeah.
funny, quotable movie. But yeah, it's got to be Remember the Titans for me. Okay. If you had to put one play in NFL history on a video loop that was framed and played in your house forever, what's the one play you would choose?
So I think you were driving at basically like one play, like Malcolm Butler makes the interception,
Like
that
one
sort
play
of
that you
thing.
just, I love watching that play.
So I was looking at, because obviously Dan Marino was my guy, and watching him just brings back my childhood. I know I was watching. There's this YouTube thing of like Marino's top 50. I hate how the fake spike play against the Jets and Aaron Glenn was number one on there. I hate that. Like it was just one of those things. There's like three plays. If you go through it, there's three plays against the Patriots. I think in Marino's return from his Achilles surgery, on the mud in the infield, that he makes just three ridiculous throws against the Patriots. But I'm going to answer it a different way than what you probably wanted. Just the Packers sweep, the 1960s Packers sweep, pulling both guards, the art that it took for that play to be successful. There's a great YouTube clip, about 5 minutes, of Vince Lombardi breaking down the play. I just love it. If I had a picture of all those guys in a game, not one specific instance, but just hitting on all their blocks, but also like just watching it over and over again, probably whichever it is, the best time they ran the Packers sweep, that's what I would want to watch.
Tom Brady to Troy Brown, Super Bowl 36, when he backpedaled and then hit him. That's when I knew it was happening. That was a feeling that I probably haven't replicated since and hadn't had to that point. That's my answer. Okay. What player represents Bill Belichick's worst ever draft pick?
So I'm not going to go with just one player. I am going to go with the first three picks of the 2018 draft. 23, Isaiah Wynn. 31, Sony Michel. 56, Duke Dawson. Bill Belichick had a chance to completely remake the Patriots Dynasty that year, to buy himself another 10 years of greatness. But he could, and I don't want to hear anything about like, well, Isaiah Wynn and Sony Michel helped them win a Super Bowl. They would have won with anybody playing those positions. It wasn't about them. But just imagine if Bill Belichick took Lamar Jackson, Nick Chubb, and a Fred Warner or Carlton Davis with the third pick. I mean, we're talking a third dynasty. And obviously that didn't happen.
I always go with Ras-I Dowling. It was like the first pick of the second round. And with where their defense was then, oh, what an opportunity that would have been to get a playmaker, an additional guy that you could have put into that defense and help them get back to where they wanted to go. I hated that pick. That was a devastating miss. All right, next.
Glass-eyed Dowling.
Oh, he was brutal. Okay, whose press conference would you have loved to have covered but never got the chance to?
I think Jim Moore. Jim Moore would certainly be interesting, and there's been some great clips that people have that have resurfaced of some old Jim Moore press conferences and gathering with the media where he's just like ripping even his own players, which is awesome. But I'm going to have to go with anything with Bill Walsh. I just think one of my favorite stories from that I did at Sports Illustrated when I was at the MMQB was I went out to the 49ers, and for about 3 days I just watched what they did at the time, and he was one of the first to do it. They recorded Bill Walsh's talks to his team meetings to the teams in preparation for games, including some of the key ones like Giants playoff games. And It was unbelievable. So I just think he's one of the greatest coaches ever. Anything I could get more of with Bill Walsh, that's what I want.
Bill Parcells. I would have loved to have gotten into the
Good
arena
call.
once with Bill Parcells
Yeah.
and just watched it and seen what I could have produced in terms of an entertaining back and forth for a story or something like that. Okay, a couple more real quick. Worst interview you ever remember conducting? It just was awful.
So I was covering the Dolphins at the time, and I tried to do this story on, it's 120 degrees down there during training camp in August.
Yeah.
It's absurd. And these guys, all the positional players are killing themselves. Then you watch the specialists, Olindo Mari, Matt Turk at the time. These guys aren't even sweating. They're going inside the bubble and kicking. So I tried to do a story where I allowed them, I gave them the opportunity to poke fun at themselves about how they don't do anything in training camp really, and compared to their teammates who are killing themselves. And especially Olindo Mari would not bite at all. He made it out that everything he did on every day in practice was of the greatest consequence, and it was just broken glass. It went nowhere. We got in an argument at one point. It was horrible.
I had one with, do you remember Brian Stork? He was a center for the Patriots like 10 years ago. I interviewed him at his locker, one-on-one on camera, and it was by far the worst interview. He gave me nothing, nowhere, barely talked. And I said to him after, I was like, dude, if you didn't want to say anything, just decline the interview. That's okay. He took it. It was awful. I never talked to him again after that.
It was horrible. Horrible interview.
Two more. If Bill Belichick retired immediately following Super Bowl 36 in that first one over the Rams, would he have been a Hall of Famer right then and there?
Only through one of these committees, like the contributors, like coaches thing. Like we just saw Alex Gibbs is on one of these finalists. He would be, he would be ahead of those guys, but I don't think he would get in through the regular vote. There wouldn't be enough there. One Super Bowl title, awesome and great upset, everything, and great defensive coordinator, but I don't think enough to get in that quickly.
Pants off, I would have put him in just because, the Brady decision, keeping him in there, having drafted him, and then obviously the game plan against the Rams. That was, just such an epic year for Belichick. On top of what he did as a coordinator with the Giants, I would have put him in. All right, last one, rapid fire. Give me one player from the Patriots Dynasty years that was important to their success, but that's somewhat forgotten or not talked about as much as they should be.
Oh, you said dynasty years, so this might not be a great answer, but like I said, I'm not a Patriots fan, so and I was working really hard in the first part of the dynasty, even though I saw those teams twice a year, but of course I wasn't watching it from the Patriots perspective. Sure. I'll just say in terms of when I covered the team, I thought the guy who was underappreciated, and I do think fans here appreciate him, but nationally, and I mentioned this the other day about how Vince Wilfork always had horrible PFF grades. I thought Vince Wilfork was one of the keys, that he was so big and strong, and the unheralded dirty work that he did for those teams. I'm not sure how many Super Bowl titles he won, at least one, maybe two. I just thought Vince was irreplaceable. There weren't many guys that could do what he did. What a phenomenal athlete for his size. I just thought Vince was awesome.
All right, I'll go with the late, great David Patton. He had some big, in that first Super Bowl run, he made some big AFC Championship games, Super Bowl touchdown catches in both. God rest his soul. We rarely ever talk about him anymore, but I thought for those early years on those teams that won the title, I thought he was big. All right, this episode has been brought to you by Prizepicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Download the Prizepicks app today and use the code CLNS and get $50 in lineups when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prizepicks to get $50 in lineups when you play $5. Prizepicks. It's good to be right. Speaking of picks, let's go into our game pick this week. I know you make your final pick. Is that right, Greg? Later in the week?
Yeah.
Greg right now, he's 4-3 straight up, 5-2 with the spread. Patriots currently -7. The over-under is 40.5. What do you have for me right now, Greg, in terms of your pick as of this moment?
So it's similar to what I said last week. I would have been surprised if the Titans would have scored a touchdown. Of course they did. Rough first half. I'm going to say the same with the Browns. I don't know whether they score a touchdown in this game. They shouldn't. We'll see how the Patriots defense comes out. So I think the Patriots win. They cover. rather easily. I would say it's going to be something like 23-10, maybe. I think the Titans game I picked like 24-6, which didn't work out, but something similar to that. I just don't think the Browns will be able to do anything on offense. Not that I think the Patriots defense is good. I just think they stink on offense.
I love it. 24-9. I was actually going to kind of a carbon copy of what we saw from last Monday night between the Bucs and the Lions. I think it's going to be similar to that, where the Lions, they kind of gain control later. I think the Patriots will be able to gain control and get it done just because their quarterback's better. The defense of the Browns is good, but I think the Patriots defense makes some plays, and I think the quarterback's just better, and that's going to take them to where they want to go in this game. All right. It's been great, Greg. I feel like I know you better now, and I'm looking forward to Sunday and the interview during the post-game show. Not that I didn't normally do that, but now I really am.
Me too. Let's get it on. Don't be afraid to push back on me. Let's go get it.
All right. Love it. This has been I want to get it right because I got to get Nick will be mad at me. You are listening to the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast with Nick Cattles, proud member of the CLNS Media Network.